I thought to myself the other day that I could film so many more videos if I just basically turned my Letterboxd reviews into video reviews. So if you don't mind seeing sort of a replication of what I've already written on Letterboxd, that's what we're gonna do today. Just sort of a laid back, casual review, only using my Letterboxd notes as a guide. Yes, and today we're going to be talking about Late Night with the Devil. This was one that I kind of, I'm on horror Instagram and horror YouTube, and I saw this getting mentioned, and I saw it was a 70s movie, 70s inspired movie, and I saw a couple of stills, and I was like, that looks kind of cool. So I impulsively pressed play and just gave this a shot, because every once in a while I like to dip my toe into like current events in the horror world. This video is not going to have spoilers. No spoilers. Late Night with the Devil is about this talk show host named Jack Delroy, and he is kind of struggling with his ratings and everything. This is 1977, and he decides, in like one last ditch effort, to do something big to get his show ahead and save his livelihood, save his show, all of that. So he decides to do a Halloween special and to make it paranormal themed. So he brings on guests that have some sort of stock in the paranormal fields. And of course, this is a horror movie, so as you might imagine, things go bad. Late Night with the Devil is directed by Cameron and Colin Cairns. Whoa, that's a lot of C's. Well, I'll start off by saying that I really enjoyed watching this movie. This is what you might call a found footage. It has a little bit of like mockumentary in there as well, but the bulk of the film is the full runtime of this cursed talk show episode. So you're watching the whole show, which is really cool. But not only that, you get these commercial breaks when they're off air, but you still get to see what's happening in the studio. And I did read some reviews and watch some reviews, and there was some complaining about like the logistics of it all. I feel like that takes people out of found footage a lot when it's like, well, who would be filming that? Why would that be filmed? You know, who's holding the camera for this? That kind of stuff. But this didn't really bother me in this movie because it was kind of like, even though they are actively recording these conversations like backstage on commercial breaks, you would have to think that there are cameras sitting around, maybe. So it's like a fly on the wall sort of vibe, but it's a camera in the room kind of vibe. You're just seeing like the point of view of the camera, even though it's not necessarily recording. What happens during these commercial breaks is just crucial to the unfolding of the story. So I really liked the style of the presentation of this story, it being a TV episode, kind of like a lost episode. So I love when movies are like, you're watching something super secret that no one has seen before. Like, you're special because you get to watch this. So TV, this movie is tense, all right? TV is tense because like you're on like this timer. You can't edit yourself out, you can't take a break, like it's going. I was actually taking a TV production in studio class this semester, but I had to drop it. But the way I see it, I got kicked out of that class because I'm too awesome. Anyway, TV is stressful. It really added this tension to the movie, and we also had this sort of like, how far will you go for ratings? Like, how far is too far? You know, at what point have we gone too far? And that's kind of what they're flirting with this whole movie. You're bouncing between skepticism and comedy, and also like, is this real? Like, is this dangerous? What actually just happened? That is really, really fun. And this is still something we see a lot today. Like, is it worth putting myself in danger to become legendary? I thought this film was very unique and refreshing, innovative. Now, I don't know if other films like this have been made, but if they have, I haven't seen them. I haven't seen like a TV found footage horror. And the show itself, even though it's like a fake show, I think it was designed really well. Like, I haven't watched talk shows really either, but the guests were brought out like one by one, but then they would all interact with each other as they each came out. So you could kind of see them play off of each other, and it was just really fascinating. I'm not gonna tell you about all of the guests, but I will say there was one who was a skeptic, and so his job was to basically like debunk anything that the other guests were saying or doing. And I loved his character. Like, I know he was a jerk, but he was a really, really important component of that movie. So like I said, this is set in the 70s, which is really cool. It can be really hard, especially when we're talking like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, for a modern movie to try to like recreate that. Like, it looks accurate, but it also looks a little off. Like, it looks believable, but also kind of fake. You know, it's like never quite right. But it wasn't too distracting in this movie. The color palette and the imagery and everything was really memorable. It leaves an imprint. So while the talk show's going on and events are unfolding, and you also get to learn a little bit more about like the context, especially of Jack's life. And I'm not really one to predict what's going to happen in a movie. I'm not like, oh, you know, that person's doing that, or, you know, this is going to happen to this person. Like, I usually don't have a radar for that, but there were some things in this movie that I think were supposed to be a surprise, but I knew instantly. And maybe it's because I've watched too many 70s movies. So while the story, of course, is very straightforward, you're just watching the events of this talk show, there are many like branches. You know, you wonder about each character. What happened to them before? What's going to happen to them after? The mind can really wander around the substance of this movie. You're wondering about the before, the after, the sidebars. Everyone that's presented is very interesting, and you do kind of want to know more. At the end of the movie, you are left with a lot of questions. Like, there's a lot that's kind of like, wait, but what? Everything doesn't get answered for you, but I don't think that's in a harmful way. I think it like leaves your mind to wander, which in some cases is fun. I'm no expert on this, but it looked like in the film we had this mixture of like special effects, like CGI, and a little bit of practical effects too. The CGI stuff just really kind of took me out of the movie. Some of it was kind of bad, but I think the practical effects look good. I can't imagine how hard it would be to take this brightly lit TV studio and make it somehow scary. You know, you can't exactly play up the shadow or turn on the fog machine. But yeah, some of our scary action that we get is very abrupt. It's very like sudden, that it like catches you off guard, but in a way of like, wait, what? You know, like, don't look away for 1 second or you'll be like, huh? You know, they were ambitious. They tried to do a little bit more instead of like doing a little bit less, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. Little side note, I think these writers had to have been influenced by scanners. I don't know, something about like the poster for this movie, and I guess just the fact that like, even though that legendary scene from Scanners it's brightly lit in front of an audience. Yeah, it's brightly lit in front of like an audience, even though they're not on air, or are they? I don't remember. They are, aren't they? Anyway, it reminded me of Scanners. Like, they had to have been inspired, or at least seen Scanners. What do y'all think? So when I got done watching this movie, I thought to myself, like, this is probably a one-time watch. There's no way it would be as thrilling to watch it a second time. A lot of found footage is like that. But now that I'm thinking about it more, like, I think I might come back to it at some point, especially if I'm watching it with someone who hasn't seen it yet. But still, let me tell you what a fun one-time watch this was. I was glued to my screen. I was fixed. I haven't been so fixed on a movie in a long time. Ooh, like I thought, okay, like it was like lunchtime at work. So I thought I was gonna put on a little movie and like do some little multitasking. No. Screw that work, whatever. I'm watching this movie, oh my God. And funnily enough, we had a power outage. The power in my whole entire building just shut off, unexplained, right in the middle of this scary movie. And my office doesn't have any windows, so I just like jumped up and ran out of my office. Okay, the cast was awesome. The acting was awesome. Great people, believable stuff, like tension and everything, like the fear, everyone did great. And I would say even if the acting seemed a little iffy sometimes, it just played into the whole like insincerity of talk TV, you know? My camera's about to die, so I'm gonna wrap this up. I really enjoyed watching this. I would love to see more from this universe. I'd like to see more from this universe. Can we get some explanations? I don't know. I'd like to know a little bit more. Late Night with the Devil was a blast. It was really fun, and it was fun to watch, and I appreciated it. And the 70s is awesome. Oh, and look at my shirt. Okay, bye.